Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
There we go. I'm back.
I immediately pulled this thing out and probably...
Oh, I did the same. I
ruined
know. I know. They go to so
will
much
be
work
very-
to make everything
Yeah,
so nice.
They were. And then we immediately...
There's bowls in China shops.
I relate to this. I
Yeah.
relate to their plight. You know, because now, I mean, with the children at home, now I have to act like indignant if they tell me I did it wrong.
Yeah.
Like, no, you did it wrong.
Yeah. Understand.
You know, so, yeah. You know what, in that regard, I think in regard to our conversation today, you know what question I get at home a lot, my kids say a lot?
What's that?
Is this real? So they'll be watching TV, we'll be watching a show or something, they'll just look over. Is this real?
Interesting.
What do you mean by that? Like, are they people? Or is it computers? They're actors. You understand what an actor is. Yeah, but is it real?
Yeah. World of AI now, man. I'm asking the same questions.
Oh, yeah. We all are, I think. And it's advancing. So, you know what, before we should probably say hi to everyone. Hello.
Hi, everyone. My name's David. I am the editor of Tire Review Magazine.
I'm Jason, Director of Content for Fleet Equipment, Heavy Duty Trucks. And David and I will sit down occasionally and we'll just talk.
We're just talking today.
Because so much of our jobs is having to talk
Right.
about a thing. And we never get the just talk.
It's rare.
It
It's
is
rare
rare.
nowadays.
We did this last time. We talked, you know, and we talked about something I had never talked about before on camera for my job. We talked about cost.
Yeah.
That is a no-no usually in our world.
I know.
Because you never know the cost. What is the cost?
Exactly.
Depends on the customer and how much they're buying and all this stuff. We never know cost.
I know. It's a tough subject. And we only just started to touch on it, too.
We did. I want to talk about another thing we're not supposed to talk about.
Uh-oh.
Politics. We're going to do cost.
Okay.
We're going to do politics. We're going religion next. That'll be the next one. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
But I got to say, I got to talk politics. We've had a shakeup in the political world.
Have we?
Well, I guess I don't know. I guess that depends on your politics.
Okay, yes, I agree. I agree with you. We have pretty dramatic shakeup, I would say.
Pretty dramatic shakeup. You and I have both been on the road.
Quite
And
a
I
bit,
was I was actually traveling on Inauguration Day. Were you on the road on the 20th? Or 19th or whatever
I think
it
I
was?
was.
Yeah.
I think I was.
It was interesting, I think, at least for me to be out in the industry while that was happening.
Yes.
Because I think two things popped up right away. At least so I was at Heavy Duty Aftermarket Week, which is a gathering of all the aftermarket manufacturers, distributors, all this kind of stuff for the heavy duty truck world.
Big show.
It was good. And actually, this was probably, it moved to Dallas from Vegas a number of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, because it was growing and it was outgrowing. It was at the Mirage, which isn't there anymore. They're tearing that down, right? It outgrew that. It's in the Gaylord Dallas Texan. And I tell you what, it's growing even from there. People kind of booths and tabletops out in the entryway and hallway and stuff.
So did it feel squished? You know, did it feel like it was
That's the
too
other thing.
big?
It didn't feel, no, it felt like just right.
Wow.
Just
Okay.
like, it's like that Goldilocks area where it's like,
Right,
I feel the show's busy, people there, lots of great conversations, good attendance. But you could just see it. This thing starts going again. I think we're there 2 more years, maybe.
Okay.
I can't remember. Another year or 2 or whatever.
That's exciting.
I'm not privy to the plans, but it is cool. It is cool to see. And I got to tell you, you know, I think overall there was a lot of positivity and hope with the new administration in the trucking world.
Good.
But then there's uncertainty,
Yes. Quite a bit.
which is just kind of an interesting dichotomy. No one knows what's going to happen. But I think people are, in the industry, they're glad something's happening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, especially in the trucking space, the whole, CARB EV mandates happening, it was causing a lot of stress for a lot of people.
It was.
And seeing that kind of, take some sort of reversal, I think for a lot of people, some stress relief there.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Oh, I talked a lot about that at the show. For those that don't know, so this whole CARB thing, right? So CARB is California Air Resource Board. It's out in California. It puts out all these regulations. It was the one that had advanced clean fleet and advanced clean truck. One of which, man, I can't remember off the top of my head. I feel like advanced clean fleet. Maybe it's in my notes here.
You know, it is confusing. Advanced clean, what?
One,
And what did they do?
one talks to the manufacturer and says, okay, manufacturer, you have to sell, I think in 2024, it was 5% of zero emissions vehicles, which is battery electric trucks. So if you're producing 100 trucks or selling 100 trucks, 5 of them have to be battery electric.
Sure.
On the flip side, then there was a mandate for fleets that they had to buy zero emissions vehicles, right? The fleet portion regulation, we learned just 2 weeks ago, CARB pulled, you know, it's all this confusing language.
Yes.
CARB withdrew its waiver to the EPA for that regulation.
I like how you put that.
That's how they put it, and then our job was like, so what does this mean? Is this
Yeah.
thing dead? No one wants to go on record because no one actually knows if it's dead, but it's pretty much dead. I think little legal disclaimer that Jason Morgan isn't a lawyer and doesn't understand regulation and will not be held liable for any of these things, so do your own homework on that. We have stories on fleet that do that homework, which is what we had to do. So now you have this mandate that fleets don't have to buy. They can buy whatever they want. The dealer side, the OEM side, is still in place, so they still have to sell them right now as regulation sits.
And that's interesting.
And then you have EPA and GHG, and they have their own kind of stipulations for how much emissions an engine can have.
Yeah,
But
right,
one of the interesting takeaways was from Heavy Duty Aftermarket Week when on the first day, ahead of that, there was always Heavy Duty Aftermarket Dialogue, which is a MEMA-produced big presentation of everything going on. They had their government affairs people there. And one of the big things is it was super cool being there on Inauguration Day because you got to talk to them about, okay, what's going on? Because President Trump comes in, starts signing these like a hilarious amount of executive orders. Right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so I asked him, okay, well, is this new or different or what's going on here? Whenever an administration comes in, there's a regulatory freeze. And they say, nope, hold on everything. Let's check it all out, which is normal. Everybody does it. The executive order thing is a growing trend. Every president has used them, really.
Yeah.
But to set the agenda day one, I believe President Trump set a record on those, right? So that's a little different. But it's kind of this interesting thing of, okay, well, what does this all mean? How do you all entangle it? And
Right.
uncertainty, but directionally, everyone was feeling, the mood was very positive.
That's great. That's great.
And very interesting.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcox Media.
What about on your trip? Where were you?
Man, so, you know, a lot of dealer groups had really, really great positive years in 2024.
Okay.
And so we're getting to learn a lot about those in the tire world. So beginning of January, I took off down to Florida to Amelia Island. It's kind of northern Florida,
Not
near
bad.
Jacksonville.
For Akron, Ohio, I believe it was minus 10 degrees here that
It
week.
was negative 20 that week. You know, and it was like, you know, mid 40s, mid 50s down there. So it wasn't, you know, your Miami weather, but, you know, I was not complaining. I was not complaining at all. But, you know, Point S, I mean, they had just a record year. They have this cool initiative where, you know, they're trying to hit 500 stores in 50 states within 5 years. And they announced that in 2023.
Okay.
And as of this year, they have just over 400 stors, I believe.
gosh.
So they are well on their way. The tough part for them is going to be the states. Off the top of my head, it's like 34-ish.
okay.
I could be off, give or take. But, you know, I mean, they got to hit 50 states to meet their goals. So, you know, I'm really pushing for them. And it's really fun to catch up with them every year, see the progress, and understand, okay, how are we going to get to that next step of the goal?
What's driving that? I mean, how are they moving so quickly and sustaining it? Do they have an idea? Like, is it one thing? Is it the combination of things?
It's a big combination.
Really?
One of the big ones, they acquired a group called Peerless, which was 50 stores. So they just got that right off the bat.
Sure.
Not right off the bat, but, you know.
Acquisition makes it easier.
Yeah, the acquisition helped quite a bit. The other thing is their manufacturer partnerships. I mean, they are just very, very good at, you know, getting those manufacturers in line with them to understand what they're trying to do to help their dealers. They have something called Platinum Partners, and a certain number of manufacturers are a part of this group, and they, engage in special deals and things like that.
Oh, sure.
Just added a new one this year, so they have 5 total. The new one is Toyo. So, their dealers, I think, are very, very happy about that. So that's a really, really good one. Another one that we just went to was the K&M Conference and Trade Show.
Yeah. Okay.
That was in Columbus, Ohio, just in our backyard. It was a little chilly.
Yeah, not as fun. You just got to remind the wife, I'm also going to this one. There was the Florida one. There's the Columbus one.
I'll tell you what, though, once you got inside, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
K&M puts on a great show. One of my favorite things that they do every year is they encourage people to get there early. They partnered with Yokohama this year and said, hey, Yokohama's going to give the first 100 people in line to get in the doors $100.
What?
And so, like the doors open, I don't remember, it might have been 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and there was a line at like 5:30 in the morning. I mean, families were just standing in line. And that's a good point, too. The K&M trade show, it's really great because they highly encourage everyone to bring their families.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
you go on the trade show floor with all the
Yeah.
booths and everything, and it's, you got your guys in suits and whatever, but you have just as many children,
that's cool.
like running around having fun, making friends. So, that's always fun. And so the manufacturers there with the booths, they know this. And so they'll bring games for the kids and
yes,
stuff.
the tchotchkes.
Kumo brought a big shuffleboard table. And so there were all these people in line, kids in line, playing shuffleboard, learning shuffleboard for the first time.
And then all the dealer dads are standing there talking shop with
Yeah,
that's
exactly,
super smart.
exactly.
Just entertain my children for
Right?
10 minutes. I'll give you whatever you want.
It was
we'll
a really
push
great
your
show.
tires all day long.
Yeah. It
That's
was a lot of
funny.
fun.
So what was the mood? So trucking feels pretty good, about 25 you mentioned. Point S had a good 24.
Mm-hmm.
What's the mood on 25 in the tire dealer world? What's the industry saying?
Well, it depends on kind of what segment you're looking at. But overall, if I just had to give a general, this is the mood, I would say it's fairly positive.
Okay.
People, like I said, they kind of had a pretty good 2024 for the most part. And, that it doesn't seem like that train is going to go off the tracks anytime soon. Right. To your point, there is a lot of uncertainty on the federal level. And, tariffs is something that a lot of people are very, I don't want to say fearful, but they are keeping their eye on what's happening here.
Can we talk tariffs?
Let's talk tariffs.
I've got a theory that I've stole from other people.
Okay.
That I've cobbled together and will not name sources because no one would like that because they don't want to do
the
this.
conspiracies start.
But we'll start, we'll start the conspiracy. Well, it's an interesting thing. Now, again, you have tariffs across the board being proposed, right? Specifically, I feel like Mexico for us is an interesting dilemma because there's a lot of manufacturing in Mexico.
Absolutely.
And it would be advantageous for manufacturers to not have those tariffs. You saw President Trump come in day one, take aim at Mexico in a lot of different ways, right? One of the things that came up was the USMCA. I've got a story on this. I haven't finished it yet, but so I'm working through it, right? But this is what replaced NAFTA. It's the trade agreement with the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. It replaced NAFTA. President Trump had set this up in his first term, so it set all the standards. Now, what it also said is after 6 years, we're going to review this trade agreement, which is a little unorthodox in trade agreements.
Right.
So great. That will happen in July of 26, when President Trump is back in office now.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, you have the threat of tariffs. He's focused on border security. That's what he wants, right? But there's all these levers now, right? And what's interesting on the trade agreement, like you look at in regard to heavy-duty trucks, the stipulations for manufacturers there had a 7-year adoption rollout timeline. They're reviewing it before it's even done. Automotive was 3 years, so it's still even relatively new, so you're not even quite sure because these are, it takes a while to turn a giant ship like that.
Yeah.
But, you've got that looming, right? July 26th sounds like a long ways away, but,
I don't know.
I mean, Trump's got 2 years to, hit it hard.
Right.
And make an impact before he's basically reviewed.
Very
in
interesting.
another election.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so then you threaten tariffs, you want border security, there's a lot of trade. He's a business guy, there's manufacturing and stuff going on. So, could it just be to, not just be, but is it a lever pulling? Because we're going to review this trade agreement here coming up in a year and a half.
You just don't know. You don't know what.
That's true. The uncertainty, you don't know.
And I guess that's the
point.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the point. But it is interesting, and you got to think. Now, the other thing I've heard is sourcing from the manufacturer's side, right? The pandemic pushed everyone to diversify their sourcing. Mm-hmm. So many manufacturers, many of the larger ones, especially the global ones, say, look, we need to pull in more regional sourcing to the U.S. If it's advantageous for us, we can do it.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Man, there's so much to think about.
I know. And talk about.
And talk about. And we'll keep doing it. We'll keep talking.
We'll keep talking.
We're done talking.
We're done talking.
We're done
you're
talking
done
talking.
today.
That's
Hey, this has been great.
Always
This has been
great.
great. Yes, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining me. This was wonderful.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. It was a joy just talking to you.
Likewise.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
We're done here.
All right. Well, back to work. Back to work.